Between 1954 and 1957, in an underground facility not found on any map, 12 people took part in an experiment that officially never existed. Some died, others ceased to be themselves. They called it the experiment of the 12 whispers. And to this day, no one has survived hearing them all. The experiment appears in no official record. But researchers leaked declassified documents linking it to the infamous MK Ultra project of mind control. Only this went beyond control. They didn't want to manage the mind. They wanted to destroy the will. The files were discovered in 1999 in an abandoned lab near Leipzig, Germany. No power, no bodies, just markings on the walls. The first phase was called the echo chamber. The subject was placed in total isolation. No light, no sound, no sense of time. Then they were made to listen to their own voice. Recordings of their thoughts, distorted and looped endlessly, until they could no longer distinguish their own voice from a command. One scientist wrote, "After 48 hours, the subject obeyed, even when no one spoke." Imagine obeying something that only lives in your mind, but that was just the beginning. The second phase was called the whisper room. This time, 2 people were placed inside a room together. If the first subject broke their silence, they would hear a whisper coming from their own voice. If they spoke again, the whisper would fade away. After 3 days, the subjects began to distrust each other. After 4 days, they started to fight. At 5 days, they were killing each other. The scientists were thrilled. They had successfully removed free will by making the subjects dependent on their own survival for their sanity. But in the third phase, they wanted to break something more. The fourth wall. The whisper became a scream. Subject was placed inside a machine that monitored every aspect of their being. Brain waves, eye movements, heart rate, muscle activity, even skin conductance. A disembodied voice started speaking. It told the subject that it knew them better than they knew themselves, that it was there to help them. At first, the subject tried to ignore it. Then they started arguing with it. But after 6 days, the subject started to listen. On the 7th day, they began to trust the voice. And on the 8th day, they started to obey. The disembodied voice told them what to think, what to say, how to behave. One scientist wrote, "By the 9th day, the subject is entirely under the control of the whisper man. But some whispers are too terrible for the human mind to handle, like the whisper that tells you you're a bad person, that you don't deserve to be here, that you'd be better off dead. Or the whisper that tells you there are other people in the room, people who are watching you, judging you, wanting you dead. Or the whisper that tells you that there is no room, that you are completely alone, that no one will ever find you, that no one will ever know." Some of the test subjects couldn't take it anymore. They started tearing up the room, screaming at the walls, trying to claw their way out. And when the scientists opened the doors, they found these markings on the walls. But the most terrifying sight was inside the machine. The test subjects weren't alive, but they weren't dead either. Their eyes were wide open, staring blankly ahead. Their mouths were twisted into silent screams. Their bodies were covered in strange symbols. The scientists had lost control. But then they had an idea. What if they could weaponize the whispers? The last phase was called the Puppet Master. They recruited 4 test subjects for willing participants. They put on headsets and entered a lifelike room complete with furniture, paintings, and books. The disembodied voice welcomed them home, told them about their family, it told them about their life, it told them about their mission. To find them all, the traitor in their midst, the one who would betray them all. The 4 friends looked around suspiciously. They started to argue. The disembodied voice whispered to each of them separately, planting seeds of doubt, fanning old rivalries until they were fighting in earnest. 2 of them drew guns. They started shooting. When the scientists opened the door, they found 2 dead bodies and this note scrunched up inside the machine. It said simply, "There was no betrayal. We were all the mole." That's all we know about the whispers because the facility was destroyed in 1963, decades later. Similar experiments were conducted on unsuspecting victims around the world, victims who would later become known as the Manchurian candidates. But the truth is, no one knows how many people have been broken by the whispers, or why some of them survived while others did. Why others didn't, maybe it's better not to know. In the beginning, there were 12 participants. Those 3 died of cardiac arrest, their hearts stopping without any medical cause. 4 remained catatonic until their natural death. 2 vanished without a trace. And the remaining 3 were absorbed into intelligence programs. Their names were erased from all records, all but 1. That's what the surviving family members claim. All that remains is a single photograph, 3 silhouettes standing in front of a mirror, 2 men and a woman. On the back, a single sentence, handwritten. They weren't patients, they were keys. This story begins in 1962. But before I tell you where, first, some background. By the early 1960s, Project MKUltra had been in full swing for nearly a decade. Experimenting on unwitting subjects, drilling them with electroshock therapy, injecting them with LSD and hypnotizing them into submission. But by the early 60s, the CIA wanted something more. The director of the project, Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, was obsessed with the idea of total control, of creating the perfect sleeper agent, someone who could be activated at a moment's notice to do the agency's bidding. He believed that somewhere inside each person is a dormant part of the brain. It's an invisible mechanism that, if manipulated, could turn any person into a perfect instrument of control. It would be like having 1,000 eyes and ears all over the world, people who could pass for anyone and do anything. So he set about finding it. That brings us to the Sheppard Pratt Hospital in North Chicago. Between 1962 and 1968, 12 people entered its doors. All of them volunteers, all of them looking for work. But once they signed the consent forms and stepped into the padded room, they were never seen again. What happened to them next is classified top secret, but we have some clues. First, we know that they underwent a series of tests, experiments in controlling the mind through advanced interrogation techniques. Then we know that 3 of them died. No autopsies were performed, but the official cause of death was cardiac arrest. Next, we know that 4 of them stopped speaking and moved. They became catatonic and remained so until their natural death. 2 of the subjects simply vanished. No one knows what happened to them or where they are today. And finally, 3 of them were deemed successful. The CIA recruited them into various programs around the world. But after years of speculation, questions, and court battles, their identities remain classified. All we have is the photograph, 3 figures standing in front of a mirror, 2 men and a woman. On the back, the chilling message, they weren't patients, they were keys. But why? What was the purpose of this cruel experiment? Well, fast forward to 2010, when a team of researchers returned to the Sheppard Pratt Hospital to continue their investigation. They discovered a small metal box, a rusted safe hidden behind a loose floorboard. Inside, a single yellowed envelope, and inside that, a leather-bound diary. It belonged to Dr. Martha Keller, one of the lead researchers on the project. Her neat handwriting documented the experiments day by day, but it was her final entries that were the most disturbing. She wrote of hearing a voice, a whisper that followed her home and wouldn't let her sleep. She tried everything to quiet it, moving from city to city, changing her name, even lobotomizing a cat just to hear its voice. But the whisper followed her everywhere. Finally, she wrote she couldn't take it anymore. She ended her life. But before that, she wrote these words down 27 times. It wasn't control. It was surrender. What did it mean? Was she close to a breakthrough? Had she unlocked the secret of the human mind? If so, what was it? What did she learn? Fortunately, we don't know, because the final page of the diary is missing, ripped out, destroyed. All that remains is a single dried blood stain. Was this experiment ever about control? Maybe it was about something much darker, something that lives inside all of us, something you can't see or touch, only hear. I am not me. Now you need to watch the most terrifying unsolved mystery, the vanishing of MH370, or watch this video instead.